Hello and welcome to the DRO Bets channel. I am Daniel Robertson and I am launching a brand new YouTube channel to really just expand on what I have already been doing on the Bet MLS podcast with DRO and Oso with my friend Ben Bayer, other projects like the Hex podcast. I've gotten into the betting space over the last few years, really just as a new way to engage with Major League Soccer and sports in general. I worked in Major League Soccer for about 10 years as a journalist, as a team employee. I've watched the league very, very closely for about 20 years now, and I've really enjoyed getting to bet on the league, learning more about it, and using my skill and my knowledge that gives me an edge as well to try and make some money as we are watching the game we all love. So, what I'm going to do on this channel, we're going to talk about matches involving MLS, US Open Cup, CONCACAF Champions League, Leagues Cup, everything under the sun. We might expand a little bit. We'll see how it goes. But I'm really excited to launch this channel. And as the first post of this channel, I wanted to talk about the five things that you need to know when you are betting on MLS. So welcome to the channel. Give me the subscribe, give a like, thumbs up to this video. It's going to help me a lot as I grow the channel, as I grow this community here. I'm really looking forward to it. And let's get started with the five things to know when you bet on MLS. All right. The number one thing to know when you are betting on MLS is to avoid favorites. There are many sports where laying juice -140, -150, -160 is just a normal part of the sports. Or maybe you're, obviously in things like basketball and things like baseball, maybe you're laying some points, you're laying some runs. Not as easy to do in soccer. But in MLS, you do not want to be laying -160 on a favorite. I've talked to some very smart people who have run different algorithms looking at 3, 4 years of historical data, and it is a historic negative ROI to be betting on favorites. And the big thing around this is there's just really not that much difference to each team outside of the top 2 or 3 teams. There's just very few matchups where you can truly justify laying juice with a favorite like this. So what I recommend is if you like a favorite, but they've gotten really above, I would say 125, -130, maybe wait and check on a live betting opportunity. Maybe after the first 20 minutes, there's not a goal in the match. Sometimes really good teams can be slow starters. So you might be able to get it at -130, -120 live. The one thing you do not want to do, though, is play big, heavy favorites. You won't see it on this channel. And above that, do not parlay -220, -230 together to get to even money. It is not profitable in MLS in the long run. Tip number 2 on the 5 things to know when you are betting on MLS, it's going to be the opposite of tip number 1. When you start your capping every week, when you look at the board, where should you start? Maybe you have limited time. Look at the underdogs first and foremost, +200 and higher. This is where you can find the most value in MLS because, as I mentioned in tip 1, the teams just aren't that different. So when you are looking for underdogs, you find teams that they're just not that different, and you're getting +250, +275 for an underdog. That is where you want to look. That is where you're going to find the value. And there are probably going to be a lot of times when you're looking at the board where there's probably 3 teams that are between +250, +300. One of them is going to win. And if you bet on all 3 of them, which I don't necessarily recommend doing, I mean, of course, we'll be giving our picks out here on the show, but one of those is going to win. You just really want to dig in and find out which one it's going to be. So tip number 2 is start your capping each week looking at the underdogs. Tip number 3, and this is the most MLS of all, is to know your intangibles when you are looking at each match. MLS is the craziest league in the world in terms of the travel the teams do, the different mechanisms for roster acquisition, crazy weather from one city to the next, time zone change, all of these different things you just don't see in other leagues. So this is the first thing you need to do after you've identified the games you want to zero in on, is things like who played midweek playing against a team on a full week's rest. Is a team going from a cold weather environment in the Northeast to somewhere like Austin or Dallas or Houston in the summer? Are they passing across 3 time zones and playing a match at 9:30 p.m. when they're used to playing at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, perhaps? Those can be huge differences. Looking at the change in altitude when you're playing in Denver or Salt Lake City, so many times you will see teams play a good first half, a good 60 minutes, and then they crumble in the altitude. So many times the books, they just can't quite take that into account when they're making these numbers. And you'll see the numbers change throughout the week as people get more and more in tune to the different intangibles here. So that is a huge one, to look at things like who is coming off, different rest, who is traveling a long way, who is coming from different weather environments. Huge advantages. Tip number 4 in our 5 things to know when you are betting MLS is to know how odds can change throughout the week. Typically in MLS, what you will see is, despite my best efforts of trying to educate you in this video, the favorites will get longer and the underdogs will get even longer odds. So what you really need to do is almost look at the schedule before the odds come out in the next week to see what is the home favorite that's probably going to be around -120. Which ones do I want to hop on really quickly? And alternatively, if you see an underdog that you like, but maybe they're +230 right now, 9 times out of 10, you'll get bit sometimes, but 9 times out of 10, you want to wait and let it go throughout the week, because I have seen 50, 60, 70 cents of line movement, getting the underdogs larger and the favorites to get worse odds. And on top of that, you want to track key injuries and see, okay, is a player questionable? Do I think they're going to be out? Maybe they're traveling for the national team, or maybe the team has a bigger game coming up the next week. You want to look at that as well and know how those odds can change throughout the week. It's essential. The 5th and final tip to know when you are betting on MLS and the inaugural DRO Bets YouTube channel video is going to be one of my favorites. MLS is a live betting league. And this can get a little bit chaotic on those MLS 360 Saturday nights when you're at home and there's like 10 games going on at the same time, and you're trying to keep track of all of them. It can be a little difficult, but maybe you're looking at a line during the week and you like the over, but it's over 3 and you really like the over 2.5. Well, all you really need to do is wait and let the game go and see. Look, if they score early, okay, you may have missed out on the line. No big deal. You don't lose what you can't put in. But there will be games maybe in hot weather environments where you like the over, but the teams are just conserving their energy through the first 45 minutes, and you're going to get an over 1.5 at halftime versus that over 3 before the game starts. Love the over 1.5. Then you need to also know the profile of the different teams. Look at a team like the LA Galaxy in 2024. They're not going to be like this in 2025, but in 2024 with Ricky Puig and those dynamic wingers, Joseph Paintsel, Gabriel Peck, if they were winning late, they were not satisfied with that lead. So many times you will see teams just sit on the lead late. The Galaxy wanted to hit you over and over and over. So what you do is you just keep betting that team total over 1.5, over 2.5, over 3.5. MLS is a league without relegation. And what that means is, whereas in the Premier League and in other places, you'll see teams just sitting on that draw, the 0-0, the 1-1, there's not really that much of an advantage to doing it in MLS. So if you see a 0-0 match in like the 75th minute, you're going to get that over half goal at even money. Things like that you can really exploit in MLS, knowing it is a live betting league. So those are my 5 tips I have learned over many years of betting on MLS to make you a better MLS better. And I want to know in the comments, what are your tips? What are your cash cows? What have been trends last year that maybe you followed to make for profitable MLS betting? Let me know in the comments. Give me the subscribe. Give me the thumbs up. Let's grow this channel together. Looking forward to more, and we will be back with the next video looking at MLS Cup odds for 2025. Thanks.